Hello, my people. Welcome back again to this live section. Thank you so much for being with me again. Guys, if you know you're actually doing anything for the moment, please actually leave it aside and come and listen to what I have to tell you guys. This is breaking and it's shaking the entire Southeast. Yesterday, I told you about the shocking Indigenous bill pushed by Deputy Senate Speaker Benjamin Kalu. Well, today, the story has turned on its head. Kanu has just withdrawn the bill after heavy backlash. But what does this mean for the Southeast, our land, our political future? I'll break it down for you guys. If you guys remember when I was telling you guys about the indigenous bill that Hope Uzodinma and Benjamin Kalu wanted to pass. Now, all of a sudden, Mazi Nnamdi Kalu has and Kalu has actually withdrawn the bill afterwards heavy backlash. Now, for those who missed it, the indigenous bill, like I told you guys, said the indigenous bill would allow anyone who lived in a state for 10 years or was born there to automatically become an indigene. That was the bill that was passed by Hope Uzodinma and Benjamin Kalu. Now, it sounds innocent on the surface, right? But here's the danger. Imagine Fulani herders or any settler group move into Igbo ancestral land, staying for a decade, and suddenly gaining full indigenous rights. That means equal claim to land, culture, and even political positions. Now, this is what Nigerians fear. This would have opened the door for the exact crisis we see in Benue and Plateau, where settlers are demanding land and power. It clashes with Igbo tradition system where indigeneity is tied towards ancestry, not just residence. It could have created a legal pathway for gradual takeover of Southeast politics by non-Igbo groups. Guys, this is a perennial. This is exactly how cultural erosion and land dispossession begins. Now, the bill would have conflicted with the federal character principle in the Nigerian constitution. States would lose their power to determine who their indigenes are. It could have triggered endless court battles from Southeast states trying to protect their heritage. Now, for so many years, this is what Mazi Nnamdi Kalu warned us about. He said for years, Nnamdi Kalu has been warning about a systematic plan to flood the southeast with non-Igbo settlers, gain indigenous status, and eventually will dominate politically and culturally. This bill is exactly what he was talking about. If it had passed in 10 years, would see new indigenes in our ancestral land, demanding chieftaincy titles, land rights, and political seats. This validates Kanu's fear about the survival of Igbo identity in Nigeria. It also explains why Biafra agitation keeps growing. Moves like this make people feel under siege. Now, immediately the bill was leaked, social media exploded. Igbo youths, groups, traditional rulers, and diaspora organizations condemned it within 24 hours. Benjamin Kalu backtracked and withdrew the bill, saying it needed a wider dialogue. This was not a normal withdrawal. This was people power forcing a retreat. Now, diaspora voices are calling it a sellout move. Kanu's image as deputy senate speaker is now heavily damaged in the southeast. Because if you guys remember when I told you guys that these people passed a bill, Hope Uzodinma and Benjamin Kalu passed a bill that anybody, whether you're from the north, you're from the west, that have lived in Igbo land for like 10 years is going to automatically become an indigene. And immediately, Mazi Nnamdi Kalu heard it. And people started saying that why will he say such a thing? In not even 24 hours, people started condemning him. Even people living in diaspora, traditional rulers, Igbo youth groups started condemning that bill immediately. It didn't reach 24 hours. Benjamin Kalu withdrew the bill and now came out on social media and said that came out and said that he's going to withdraw the bill, saying it needed wider dialogue. This was not just a normal withdrawal. This was people that were forcing him, to make an amendment now. Now, this may only be a temporary win. The bill can resurface in another form. The Southeast may stay vigilant to protect its land and identity. That is what we must try to do. We must protect our land and our identity. This incident shows why consultation with the people is critical before pushing sensitive laws. Land is not just property. For the Igbo, land is identity, heritage, and political future. If you lose indigene control, you lose everything. Guys, what do you think? Was this really Benjamin Kanu's idea or a larger APC agenda? Does this prove now the Kanu was right all along? I want you guys to actually drop your thoughts in the comment section. And also, please, like, this is a normal ritual we always do here. We'll use it, to agitate for the release of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. So please, I want you to type in the comment section, release Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, and also justice delayed is not what justice denied. So guys, let's actually go on. Now, the political strategy and APC agenda. APC using Igbo faces. Many now believe Benjamin Kalu was used as a front so that the bill would look like it came from the southeast instead of the north. Now, this divide and rule. This could be a tactic, to create division among the Igbos, painting our own leaders as the ones eroding our identity. The timing of the bill. This bill came at a time when calls for restructuring and Biafra are high, raising suspicion it was meant to neutralize those agitations. Now, imagine this time that the restructuring and Biafra are really high. Now, Benjamin Kanu and Hope Uzodinma came with a bill saying that whether you're from the north or west, you can live in Igbo land and you become an indigene, and we can give you guys free land. Where we have so many of our people who are in the north, many of the Igbos who are in the north that they are still paying rent. If they want to do any business, they're still paying rent to live on, like they're not even giving any lands at all. And all of a sudden, Hope Uzodinma and Benjamin Kanu want to pass a bill. They want to pass a bill to give the Northerners the right to come and live as indigenes in our land because they have stayed 10 years in Igbo land. That is totally bad, and we're not going to accept it. And immediately that Benjamin Kalu and the Hope Uzodinma found out that the Igbo traditional rulers have started dragging them. Immediately, it didn't reach 24 hours, they withdrew the bill immediately and said that this time around we're going to use dialogue and resolve this issue. You can imagine. Now, strategic was settlement. Granting adengality after 10 years could legitimize settlement patterns used for land grabbing and what demographic would change. Security implications. Settlers with indigenous status would gain the right to join local vigilante groups and even influence for community security decisions. Loss of cultural control. In Igbo culture, only true indigenes can hold traditional title. This law would have forced communities to recognize outsiders as traditional world title holders. Now, constitutional and legal impact. Federal character dissertation. If residence replaces ancestry, Southeast representation at federal level could be diluted by people not tied towards Igbo heritage. Resource sharing impact. State benefit like scholarship, jobs, and compensation for land would be open to outsiders, straining resources meant for locals. Now, conflict with customary court. Customary law recognizes lineage, not what residency. So this bill would have sparked a clash between state law and tradition. Let's take a look at the historical contents of all this. Now, echoes of 1966 to 70, many see this as a modern vision of political engineering similar to what pre-civilian war tactics used to what weaken Igbo autonomy. Now, Middle Belt experience. In Benue and Plateau, settlers started as tenants, became indigenes by politics, and later challenged the host communities for power and land. Colonial legacy. The British used settlement policies to weaken indigenous authority. This bill mirrors that colonial playbook. Community reaction. We've seen traditional rulers alarm. Some Igbo traditional councils warned this would erase our bloodline rights in our own land. Youth group mobilized. IPOB, MASOB, and even Neutral Youth Association condemned it within hours. Diaspora power. Igbo diaspora lobbying groups started preparing petitions to international bodies before the withdrawal happened. Now, this is just where the bigger picture is. Legal path towards demographic change. Instead of violent land grabs, laws like this provide a clean legal way to change who owns and controls the land. Testing Southeast resistance. The quick withdrawal shows the Southeast is still capable of united resistance when a threat is visible. Igbo political awakening. This incident might spark a new wave of political consciousness among young Igbos about who really represent them. Now, Nnamdi Kanu's vindication. Every warning comes alive. Kanu's message that they will come through law, not guns, is being replayed in light of this bill. Mazi Nnamdi Kanu told us that these people are going to come through law to torment the Igbos. Not with guns. They won't just come with guns. They're going to come through law. And everything he said is what is being replayed in our eyes today. Now, reason for his detention. Many are now arguing that Kanu in prison is because he exposes plans like this before they succeed. So Biafra calls grow louder. This reinforces why many Igbo self-determination is the only way to secure ancestral land and identity. So I feel that the Igbo traditional Kanu Benjamin imposed, immediately they withdrew the bill. Because tell me, how can you say that the northerners or westerners should be given a free land in Igbo, while we have so many of our brothers who are in the north that are still paying for rent? They're still paying for land that are going to use maybe to cultivate or anything. No, that is totally what's bad. Now, let us look at the political dimension. Southeast betrayal was narrative. Many in the Southeast see this bill as another example of what Igbo politicians patronizing what Abuja politics over their power. Now, weaponizing legislation. Instead of using guns or violence, political elites can use laws like this to change the demographic balance work quietly. Now, election strategy. If settlers become indigenous, they can vote and influence elections in the Southeast, altering the political feature of the region. Now, cultural and identity concerns. Erosion of clan system. Igbo society is organized by lineage and clan. This bill would have legally broken that system by making strangers equal what indigenes. Lots of scared space. Outsiders gain indigene status could demand access to what scared forest, ancestral shrines, and heritage what sites, which are usually protected for bloodline members. Now, marriage and heritage. In Igbo land, certain titles and marriage rights are reserved for true indigenes. This law would force communities to bend those rules. The economic and land implication. I'll be telling you guys the economic and land implication. Resource strain. With indigene rights, settlers could claim state bursaries, school slot and jobs meant for what local youth. Land distribution. Once settlers are indigenes, they can go to court to demand equal rights over what communal land. Oil and mineral rights. In oil-rich Southeast states, indigenous status is tied to compensation and what royalties. This bill could shift who benefit from what natural resource. Now, let's take a look at this in the security angle. Local vigilante infiltration. Indigenes control local security outfit like Ebubagu. If settlers become indigenes, they gain entry into those networks. Safe haven for militants. Groups can use the 10-year clause to settle, gain legal recognition, and then operate militants under the protection of what indigene rights. Now, conflict will trigger. Such a law would almost certainly will spark communal clashes between original indigenes and new what settlers claiming what equal rights. Now, public and what this diaspora reaction. This is what the diaspora people are reacting based on this particular bill. Now, online mobilization, hashtag condemning the bill trended within hours, showing how quickly the Igbo digital community responded. Igbo elders warning. Elders warn that this could be the final nail in the coffin of Igbo land ownership. Diaspora legal push. Igbo lawyers abroad were already drafting petitions to ECOWAS and the UN before Kanu withdrew it. Now, these are the strategic lessons we should take. Unity works. The quick withdrawal proves that when the Southeast speaks with one voice, Abuja listens. Watch future bills. This might not be the last attempt. A similar bill would come with different wording. Need for local consultation. No representative should pass laws affecting culture and identity without direct consultation with traditional councils. Now, let us take a look at the bigger picture here. Link to restructuring debate. This bill shows why calls for true federalism are growing states want to control their indigenous system without Abuja interference. Land is power. In Nigeria, whoever controls land controls what politics, economy, and culture. That's why this bill caused so much panic. Now, Igbo was awakening. This saga may awaken a new generation of Igbos to the reality that identity must be actively defended and what's not assumed. So it's a big shame to Hope Uzodinma and Benjamin Kalu for trying to propose such a bill. But thank God they were able to, withdraw the bill within 24 hours. Now let's take a look at the political power dynamics, federal government interest. Some analysts argue that bill was designed to give Abuja more control over Southeast politics through demographic engineering, weakening Igbo voting power. If settlers become indigenous, they can swing votes in governorship and House of Assembly elections, diluting Igbo political decision. Use of deputy senate speaker position. Because Kanu holds a high-ranking position, this bill would have had fast-track influence in the National Assembly. Identity and ancestry protection. Ancestry and identity and ancestry protection. Igbo spiritual connection to land in Igbo cosmology and land is not just property but it's what a spiritual inheritance. Granting outsiders equal right breaks the scared bond. Generational impact. Once a settler gains indigenous status, their children inherit it, permanently changing the cultural landscape of that community. Now, loss of native language. With demographic shift, native dialects in small Igbo community risk being replaced over time. Let's take a look at the socio-economic fallout. Local employment pressure. Government jobs reserved for indigenes will suddenly be open to settlers, creating competition and resentment. Community development fund. Projects aimed at uplifting ancestral communities would have to include new indigenes, diverting scarce resources. Displacement risk. Over time, original landowners could be legally displaced through court judgment favoring the new indigenes, and that is the fear of all these things. That is the fear that many people are having. Like they don't want settlers to come over Igbo land, and come and occupy a position. That's why they keep on blaming Corpus Odima and Benjamin Kalu for proposing such a bill that people from the north and west who have stayed in Igbo land for 10 years can become indigenous. It got many Igbo traditional leaders angry and they had to report immediately, and Hope Uzodinma and Benjamin Kalu withdrew that bill immediately. Now, historical parallels. Northern Nigeria example. In parts of the north, settlers have been absorbed politically and culturally, marginalizing original or minorities. British indirect rule. The British used stranger incorporation policies to weaken indigenous resistance. This bill mirrors that colonial war tactic. Civil war aftermath. Post-war settlement patterns were already a sore point. This bill reopens those historical wounds. Now, community and youth reaction. These are what people have been reacting. Students' bodies opposition. Igbo students' unions quickly issued statements saying the bill would destroy their future job prospects in their own land. Market associations was warning. Igbo traders saw it as a threat to community-based economic system that depend on lineage trust. Youth radicalization. So such bills risk fueling more youth agitation and pushing moderate voices toward pro-Biafra movement. Strategic and long-term effects. The gradual cultural dilution over decades, granting indigenous status to settlers could erase local histories and tradition. Loss of negotiating power. If original indigenes become a minority in their own land, the bargaining power at both state and federal level collapses. Now, potential for international disputes. If communal clashes arise from such laws, it could attract international attention, making Southeast a hotspot like Middle Belt. Now, I'll be telling you guys the broader implications of all this. Call for referendum. Moves like this strengthen the argument that the Southeast needs autonomy to protect its identity. Yes, and now re-examining representation. Igbos are questioning whether those they send to Abuja are defending their interests or selling them out. Rise of grassroots politics. This saga might trigger more community-driven political movement that bypass federal influence. So that is just you see the reason why we the Igbos need to join hands together and try to protect our culture and our identity, so that outsiders may not come and collect it from us. Now, political alternative dimension. Hidden sponsors. Many believe Kanu may not have authored the bill himself, but acted on instructions from powerful political blocs. Testing constitutional boundaries. This bill could have set a dangerous legal precedent for redefining indigene nationwide. Erosion of state autonomy. By imposing residency-based indigene rights, the federal government indirectly takes control of local identity system. Now, cultural survival. Threat to oral history. Igbo identity is passed through oral tradition tied to specific land and ancestors. Outsider integration disrupt the chain. Shrinking scared land. Outsiders with indigenous status could challenge communal ownership of scared forests, burial rights, and shrines. Now, loss of festivals. Traditional festivals tied to ancestral may lose authenticity when communities are forced to include non-bloodline participants. Now, the economic and resource angles. Competition for farmland. Settlers with indigenous rights can legally demand access to communal farmland, displacing native farmers. Access to oil royalties. In oil-producing states, the bill would have allowed outsiders to claim compensation meant for host communities. Infrastructure allocation. Some states' infrastructure project targeting native communities would now have to cater to new indigenes, diluting focus. Security and demography, legal cover for expansion. Groups could settle strategically, gain legal indigenous status and influence community leadership without firing a shot. Political ethnic tensions. The law could trigger decades-long communal clashes similar to TV Jokun or Ife Modakewot crisis. Now, infiltration of leadership. Outsiders gaining indigenous rights can run for councillor, chairman or governor positions, controlling the state from within. Now, public backlash or mobilization. Traditional institutions united for one. Different Igbo traditional councils spoke in one voice to reject the bill. Now, there have been so many social media uprising and hashtag like protect Igbo land and stop indigenous bill trending within hours. Now, diaspora economic watch threat. Some diaspora investors threaten to halt land purchases if the bill passed fearing future dispute. Now, I'll be telling you guys the long-term consequences of all this. Permanent identity shift. Once indigenous rights are granted, they are passed down to generations, making the change irreversible. Now, cultural minority risks. Over decades, original Igbos could become minorities in strategic areas if settlers reproduce faster. Traditional authority collapse. Traditional authority collapse. Chiefs and kings would lose legitimacy if forced to recognize non-lineage indigenes. Now, broader national and Biafra implications. Fueling secessionist sentiment. Laws like this make many conclude Nigeria is hostile to preserving Igbo identity. Proof of systematic agenda. People will see this as part of a larger plan to erase ethnic boundaries and weaken Southeast autonomy. Reinforcing self-determination, it strengthens the argument that only regional autonomy or Biafra can protect Igbo ancestral heritage. So guys, like I always say, you see this bill that Hope Uzodinma and Carlo Benjamin want to pass, it's not going to work for them at all, because you saw the way they immediately went as far as withdrawing the bill, because the Igbo traditional leaders were not actually happy with what was going on, and immediately they had to withdraw that bill immediately. Imagine saying that like saying that the Northerners who have stayed in Igbo land for 10 years should become indigent, and not only that, they should be given free lands. You're telling them you want to give them free land, but we have so many of our brothers who are in the north that these northerners have refused to give them free land. They are still paying for anything they are using there, and you just want us to give them free lands. It is not possible when we have so many of our brothers who have stayed there for 50 years, 60 years, for even 10 years safe, but still they were not giving any free land, and you want all of a sudden us to give the northerners free land. No, that is not fair at all. And immediately the Igbo traditional leaders heard about this. Immediately they had to do something possible, and Kalu Benjamin had to he withdraw the bill. Now, I'll tell you guys the political contents of all these things. Northern strategy. Some political analysts believe the bill mirrors Northern Nigeria's long-term strategy to spread influence into other regions through settlement and legal recognition, weakening state boundaries. It blurs the legal and cultural distinction between states, which undermines the federal system. APC power consolidation, granting settlers indigenous status in opposition-controlled states could swing future elections in APC favor. Now, cultural and heritage preservation, erasing lineage-based land rights. Igbo land inheritance is tied to bloodline. This law would undermine that and create legal disputes over ancestral land. Now, dilution of native titles. Outsiders could demand chieftaincy and traditional titles that are meant only for bloodline descendants. Cultural assimilation pressure. Original communities would be forced to adjust customs and traditions to accommodate non-Igbo indigenes. Legal ramifications. Confusions in courts. Courts will struggle to define indigene when ancestral and residence claims conflict. State identity crisis. If everyone can become an indigene after 10 years, the concept of native becomes legally meaningless. It will not be meaningless. If anybody can become indigenous after 10 years, then what is the concept of native? It will not become meaningless. Now, conflict with customary law. Igbo customary courts would be overruled by stationary law, destroying traditional dispute resolution systems. Now, security implications of all this. Silent territorial expansion. Settlers could legally acquire control without needing violent takeovers, changing community demographic quietly. Now, paramilitary risks. Outsiders gaining local authority could form armed groups under the cover of indigenous rights. Now, stronger ethnic militias. Indigenous youth may form defense militias, leading to a cycle of tension and violence. I'll tell you guys the public and diaspora anger. Why the public is angry. Women group mobilized. Igbo Women Association condemned the bill, calling it a direct threat to our womb and our land. Youth radicalization surge. Bills like this push moderate young people into pro-Biafra movement because they feel culturally what endangered. Now, diaspora lobbying. Igbo professionals abroad threatening to, to challenge the bill at the African Union and what ECOWAS level. I'll tell you guys the long-term what regional effect. Permanent what land loss. So once the settlers gain indigenous status, reclaiming that land is nearly impossible without legal or violent conflict. Political marginalization of native. If settlers become majority indigenous in some towns, original natives could lose control of councils and resources. End of indigenous what autonomy. Over time, traditional Igbo governance systems will be replaced by a hybrid system dominated by what outsiders. Now, this is a broader national story, proof of structural injustice. This controversy what highlights why many ethnic groups feel the Nigerian state erodes their identity. Biafran arguments strengthen. The bill becomes evidence that Nigeria cannot guarantee protection of Igbo heritage. Global indigenous rights. This story ties into international debates about protecting indigenous communities from demographic and what legal what erasure. That is just it. And I keep saying, oh, finally, thank God that these women came out and and these women came out and started saying, oh, they should put an end to this bill, that this bill is not favorable at all. It is not. And finally they had to withdraw the bill. Now I'll be telling you guys the political wars implications. Undermining regional solidarity. If such a bill passed, it could pit southeastern states against each other over who controls what land and what identity. Empowering federal what agencies. Abuja would gain the power to define who is an indigene in any state, overriding what local decisions. Now, election engineering. Settlers granted indigenous status could sway senatorial and House of Rep election, reshaping Southeast representation in Abuja. The cultural and heritage protection. Loss of oral land boundaries. Igbo communities often use ancestral memory to define borders. Outsiders with indigenous rights will disrupt toward that system. Now, disappearance of small dialects. Settler integration could cause extinction of minority Igbo dialects within 1 or 2 generations. Identity confusion of children. Children of settlers with indigenous rights may grow up culturally disconnected from both their origin and the host community. Now, these are the economic impact. Increased land disputes. Granting outsiders indigenous rights would likely cause a spike in communal land court cases. State budget strain. More indigenes means more competition for states. Bursaries, welfare, and scholarship, reducing benefits was for native. Now, disruption of local trade system. Igbo markets often rely on kingship. New indigenes could weaken that economic or trust network. Security and demographic risk. Ethnic balance shifts. Over decades, demographic changes could alter entire towns, making natives a minority in their ancestral homeland. Conflict over security roles. If settlers gain positions in local vigilante groups, it could lead to divided loyalties and infiltration. Silent political colonization. Instead of external invasion, this bill would allow a legal takeover from within. Public mobilization, church opposition. Many Igbo churches condemned the billing, calling it a threat to the inheritance God gave our ancestors. Student union campaigns. University and secondary school unions rallied online, arguing their future was at stake. Elders call for vigilance. Councils of elders are warning that the bill could return disguised under another name. Now, this is the bigger picture here. National unity illusion. The bill between exposes the tension between Nigerians' one national idea and the reality of ethnic preservation. Indigenous rights on trial. It raises the larger question: who defines what indigeneity, bloodline, culture, or just residency? Trigger for new movement. This saga could give birth to new Southeast-based political and cultural movement dedicated to land and identity protection. That's why I always tell you guys, it is time for us, the Igbo people, to start protecting our land. Yes, we need to start protecting our identity. We should not allow settlers to come and just take over our land. And this bill that Hope Uzodinma is passing, you can see that everybody attacked him, for opposing such a bill. Now let's go on. Political strategy and power play. Silent constitution change. Such a bill would quietly redefine the meaning of state of origin. without going through what constitutional amendment targeting minority tribes in Igbo land. Small ethnic minorities within Southeast states would lose their voice if settlers would become indigenous. APC political cover. Using Benjamin Kalu, it gives the appearance of Southeast endorsement, shielding northern lawmakers from direct word backlash. Now, cultural and heritage impact, loss of ancestor words, veneration. Igbo ancestral shrines are tied to bloodline. Outsiders gaining equal rights would disrupt what scared lineage-based worship, forced cultural what integration. Communities would be pressured to adopt customs to accommodate settlers, weakening pure Igbo word tradition. Names and identity shifts. Over time, non-Igbo surnames could dominate political offices in traditional Igbo towns, rewriting what history. Like I keep asking myself, it's a pity. Like it's a pity that such a thing is happening. That these people now want to sell. They want to sell Igbo land just like that to settlers. So it's actually a pity that they actually want to sell. They want to sell our land to northerners. They don't even care about protecting the Igbo heritage and culture again. That is just it. It's such a pity. These people don't even care at all. That is even the worst part. The Benjamin Kalu and Hope Uzodinma, they don't care about protecting Igbo's heritage and what identity at all. So guys, let us actually go on. Now, political strategy and power play, silent constitution change. Such a bill would quietly redefine the meaning of state of origin without going through what constitutional amendment, targeting minority tribes in Igbo land. Small ethnic minorities within Southeast states will lose their voice if settlers become equal indigenous. Now, APC political cover. Using Benjamin Kalu, gives the appearance of Southeast endorsement, shielding northern lawmakers from direct backlash. Now, cultural and heritage impact, loss of ancestor veneration. Igbo ancestral shrines are tied to bloodline. Outsiders gaining equal rights would disrupt or scared lineage-based worship. Now, forced cultural integration. Communities would be pressured to adapt customs to accommodate settlers, weakening pure Igbo traditions. Names and identity shift. Over time, non-Igbo surnames could dominate political offices in traditional Igbo towns, rewriting history. Now, I'm telling you guys the economic consequences of all this. Royalty distribution wars. Oil producing communities would face battles over who qualifies for compensation as an indigene. Local business ownership. Settlers gaining indigene status would compete for community-based markets, spaces traditional reserve for natives. State revenue strain. Increased indigene population could overburden social services, diluting development funds for original communities. Now, security concerns. Convert land takeover. These are the security concerns. Convert land takeover. With legal backing, settlers could buy and control large portions of ancestral land without resistance. Cross-border settlers. It could encourage cross-border settlement from neighboring regions and even countries under the guise of 10-year residency. Militant recruitment was covered. Groups could use indigene rights to legally recruit and arm local militias. Now, community and public reaction. Town union protest. Igbo towns union threaten legal action against the National Assembly if the bill is passed. Igbo diaspora investment is freezing. Diaspora investment began warning they would stop sending money to buy land if indigenous status would become diluted. So guys, there's this normal ritual we normally do here. Please, I want you to type in the comment section, free Mazin Nnamdi Kanu, and also justice delayed is not what justice denied, because this is actually a platform where we agitate, for the release of Mazin Nnamdi Kanu, to make the federal government be aware that, oh, this man is an innocent man, and all the prophecy he has been saying a long time ago has still coming to pass. It has still playing in our faces. So I'll be telling you guys a larger historical and global context of all this. The echo of apartheid tactics. Some histories compare this bill to South Africa's apartheid era land registration policies that displayed motives. Now, violation of UN Indigenous Rights Charter. The bill contradicts what UNDP, which protects indigenous people's cultural and land rights, parallel to Native American experience like in the US. In the US, legal settler indigenization could erase original what culture what over what generations. That is just it. So like I always say, we should not actually give room. The southeast should not actually give room to what to the settlers, because if they come in, they want to take over your land and spoil your heritage. How can he say that the people who have stayed in the if you are from the north or the west and you've stayed in Igbo land for 10 years, that means you can actually become an indigene and they'll be giving you a free land? Then what's the essence of the word native? If that is done like that, that means the word native is now what useless. Now let us take a look at the political and what legislative impact. Built as a precedent, if passed, it would have become a template for other what regions, forcing nationwide acceptance of residence-based what indigeneity. Now, weakening Igbo negotiation power. Dilating indigene status in the southeast undermines the region's bargaining position in restructuring what debate, weaponizing law against what communities. Instead of using force, the law itself becomes the tool to change land ownership and what political what control. Now, cultural survival traits. Breaking lineage bonds. Igbo family compounds are tied to ancestral bloodlines, granting outsiders equal status breaks centuries of what lineage what continuity. Loss of what scared names. Many Igbo towns are named after founding ancestors. Outsiders gaining indigenous rights erode the historical meaning behind those names. Festival commercialization. Cultural festivals could lose authenticity if open to people with no what ancestral ties, turning heritage into what performance. Economic and resource disputes, land fragmentation. Settlers claiming identity could what split communal lands into legal ownership, despite weakening what traditional system. Now, agricultural what displacement. Local farmers may be forced to share or lose what ancestral farmlands to new legal what indigenes. Economic migration surge. The bill could encourage mass migration to the southeast for economic benefits tied to what indigenous what rights. Let us take a look at the security world dynamic. Legal shoot for takeover. Armed groups can settle quietly, wait a decade, and gain legal cover to operate as what locals. Ethnic what militancy cycle. Granting outsiders power triggers native resistance, fueling decades-long ethnic what conflict. Strategic resettlement programs. Powerful blocs could deliberately what relocate populations to change southeast demographics over time. Now, community reaction and mobilization. Women started protesting. They said Igbo women emphasized that land is equal what lineage. That land is equal lineage, and if land is lost, heritage and identity are gone forever. Now, traditional title revocation. Some councils they vow they will never give titles to people without what ancestral ties, even if the law would force them. Diaspora what political action. Igbo communities abroad began lobbying international human rights bodies immediately after hearing of the bill. Now, the global and historical parallels, echoes of reward. Some commenters compared it to the demographic what engineering that fueled tension before Rwanda war crisis. Lessons from Palestine. Critics noted parallels with settlement policies that gradually replaced indigenous what population. Violation of African Charter. The bill would conflict with the African Charter on Human and People's Rights, which protects what indigenous what heritage. That is just it, which protects what indigenous heritage. So guys, let's move on. Now I'll be telling you guys about this political calculation. The first one is softening southeast resistance. The bill could have been designed to gradually what neutralize Igbo demand for restructuring of Biafra by changing who Igbo is legally. Federal political balances. Some see it as an attempt to redistribute political representation by altering population statistics in favor of Abuja interests. Backdoor constitutional amendments. Instead of open debate, the bill quietly would rewrite the meaning of indigene across Nigeria without public approval. Now, cultural and heritage laws. Ancestral covenant broken. In Igbo belief, land is a covenant with ancestors. Outsiders sharing it without blood ties breaks that scared word trust. The displacement of oral history. Non-native indigenes would lack ancestral memory, erasing historical continuity in communities. Cultural blending risks. Over time, custom would merge with outsiders, practice dilating unique what Igbo tradition. Now, the economic pressure. Influence of opportunistic settlers. People from other regions might migrate to benefit from southeast resources, creating population pressure. Housing and urban strain. More indigenes means more demand on infrastructure, leading to conflict over space and development funds. Lack of communal wealth. Indigenous wealth structures built on kinship and trust could break if outsiders gain equal access to communal resources. Now, I'm telling you guys the security and demographic changes in all this. Silent encirclement. Strategical place settlers could create a demographic belt around key towns, shifting control gradually. Future insurgency risk. Granting outsiders indigenous rights opens the door to hidden militant cells claiming local legitimacy. Disempowering native vigilantes. With shared indigenous rights, native security outfits could lose authority to protect ancestral land. So guys, just like I always say that there's a normal ritual we always do here. Please comment on the comment section, free Nnamdi Kanu, and also justice delayed is not what justice denied. And I also want you guys to actually take a look at this video and watch what Nnamdi Kanu's lawyer have to say about Nnamdi Kanu and what they are doing to the southeast. Guys, take a look at this video and right. Please also drop your comments below.
When the president,
as I'm back to analyze why in the first place.
When the president calm down, the reason Nnamdi Kanu have a discussion with him. You have been having a discussion with bandits and the so-called repentant Boko Haram. Tell me the offense of Nnamdi Kanu, because he's agitating for self-determination, which is his own constitutional fundamental rights granted to him by the constitution and the law.
Well, the government's angle is not because of the agitation, because they know that everyone has a right to agitate, but they said the way he was going about it, like and then people were being incited. Well, that's even not what I'm
what of the wife of the president incited people during the election? The wife of the president, he incited people that Igbo should go. What of the one of Lagos said that Igbo should go and fall into lagoon? What of those that came out and said that Igbos will not vote? If you are not voting for APC, you will not vote. What happened to them? Has anybody been arrested? That Nnamdi Kanu said something, then you now term that thing he said as is a terrorist, is a crime of terrorism. You charge him for terrorism. His own lawful organization that is registered in almost all the whole countries in America and Europe and Asia, and you now came to Nigeria, you term it a terrorist organization. Now you are now saying that now that IPOB is being recognized in almost all the whole countries in America and Europe. So you are now saying that America, France, Germany, they are recognizing a terrorist organization because you don't want anybody to agitate. You want to suppress anybody. If you talk, kill him, suppress him, jail him. In a country that is predicated on constitutional governance, it cannot work like that.
Okay, let's get back to the ministerial nomination of Bianca Ojukwu, because you said he took away one from Anambra and brought in another. But remember that the president took away the minister based on the KPI results that came out, which he was not even the one, that did the evaluation. It was the result given to him with which he did that, meaning that if actually the minister had performed, above board in the KPI, he wouldn't have had any reason to remove her rather.
Now, still on that ministerial list, we have 48 of them, am I right? And we have 36 states in this country, including FCT 37. So, apart from Southeast, that have only 5, every other region have more than 6, apart from Southeast. Now, check since 1999, we have been having series of presidents. Let's use what is going on now. The president is from where? Vice is from where? Speaker is from where? Senate President is from where? CJN is from where? Court of Appeal President is from where? National Industrial Court President is from where? Chief Judge of Federal High Court is from where? And they are saying that the people of Southeast belongs to this country.
The chief of
are you sure you're not? I mean, it's just like what I said too. I mean, isn't it time we started to be less sentimental about this diversity?
We have to apply it now. We are saying that the only people that are qualified to hold on this position, nobody from South is qualified. On what basis?
Are you saying that
the chief of Naval Staff is from the Southeast? Huh? The chief of Naval Staff?
From where? I'm talking about the key position. Number 1 person, number 2 person, number 3 person, number 4 person, number 5 person. The key position, we have 3 arms of government: the executive, the judiciary, and the parliament. You can never see anybody from Southeast there. Now, the point we are talking about is that when I'm not even talking about, I'm in court about lopsided appointments.
Okay.
I can avail that my process because I did an intensive research in that process. File it, asking court to view whether this particular appointment, whether this particular governance is in line with Federal Character Establishment Act, an act of National Assembly. that said that you should carry everybody along. Section 14 of the Constitution also said that you should carry everybody along. And they are not doing all these things. You are telling me that, yes, now that you have removed Kennedy Hanele and you are now brought in Jan Kojuku, that the people of Southeast will jubilate. Are you talking to idiots? Look at the people that you are talking about. Let me start with the source. In football, the people that have made Nigeria proud are the people of Southeast. In commerce, in aviation industry, name it. In academics, they are from people of Southeast. But when it comes to power, they are not qualified. And we want them to be happy. Listen, let me tell you, like today that is Monday, go to Southeast. And my annoyance is that these things are avoidable for Christ's sake. The one at Niger, the reason and the Kanu, let us start addressing this issue. This early morning, somebody sent me a clip, something they posted, that they said from, I think they said next week, maybe the next 2 weeks, that there will be nothing like federal courts in the whole of Southeast. What do I mean by federal court? Federal court, National Industrial Court is a federal court. Federal High Court is a federal court. Court of Appeal is a federal court. Now, the people the judges that are there, most of them are not Igbos. Majority of them are not Igbos. How should you risk somebody to go and preside in the Court of Appeal or the Judicial Division, Oka Judicial Division, Enugu Judicial Division? How can you appoint somebody to go and preside in Federal High Court in the Southeast, National Industrial Court in the Southeast? And we are not even thinking about all this, and the judges are not even thinking about So the point we are talking about is that when there is a problem, look for a solution. Personally, somebody like us, we are not even, I'm defending Nnamdi, one of his lawyers. So when they say so you people are not doing what you're supposed to do, the person that is calling you, don't even know him. He's using a hidden number to call you. You don't even know what they're talking about. The only thing that you went to court and you were unable to bring Nnamdi out. They're not even safe.
Okay, Maxwell, let me ask you this, because from what you're saying, I've also heard IPOB many times deny, allegations of being involved in some of the killings that happen in the Southeast and some of the, the ills that we see in the society. Even the sit-at-home in question, IPOB has also claimed that he has not asked anybody to sit at home. I don't know, get my point. So the point I'm making is that from what you're saying, it would look as if what you're actually trying to say is that it's because Nnamdi is being held,
yes,
that is why the ills in the society in the Southeast has escalated. Does it have anything to do with him? That is what you're saying.
Do you know why? Nnamdi Kanu, IPOB is his initiative. He established it, he organized it. Now, when you now kidnapped him or adopted him, and unlawfully, because the Supreme Court have said that he was unlawfully brought into this country, and you kept him incommunicado, everybody on his own. This one we kill, you said at IPOB. This one we maim, he said at IPOB. Everybody on his own. That's why I asked you the question, who is IPOB? The IPOB is Nnamdi Kanu. So Nnamdi Kanu, if Nnamdi Kanu is out, he will know who is who. Simon Ekpa will talk his own, Emma Powerful will talk his own, this one will talk his own, this one. Who is IPOB? That you are even talking. Simon Ekpa is in Finland. Emma Powerful, I don't know where he's operating from. Another person is operating from somewhere. Issuing threats. Just like the one somebody told me. I don't even know where that one is coming from. So the easiest way to do is the one that you know. Nnamdi Kanu. Then tell Attorney General, as he discontinue the charges against the president of Mieti Ala Kato, discontinue that of Showore, they are all terrorism. Tell them to discontinue that of Nnamdi Kanu, and allow Nnamdi Kanu to agitate. It is his right. I told you here the other day.
You see, that's where the problem is, really. The guarantee, that there will not be problems, even if Nnamdi Kanu is, because you're saying allow him to agitate, and he goes about it the way he used to, like, the government have actually feared. That may also create more problems, don't you think?
Let me tell you, there are some things that you asked me the other day whether they are talking about condition giving Nnamdi Kanu. I told you one question. I say, if you give Nnamdi Kanu condition that he feel after meeting up that condition, he will still live like a human being, so be it. But when you give him condition and you are removing that made him a human being, he will tell you no. What is that made you a human being? That thing that makes you a human being is your ability to exercise your fundamental rights. And when somebody said, now I'm going to employ you here, I'll be paying you $500,000 every month, but you will not talk, you will not move out, you say, do away with your job. When somebody said, I'm going to release you, but I'll cut one of your hands, say no. The agitation for self-determination is a fundamental right. And if you people fail to understand it, I can agitate that I need the Republic of Maxwell. Yeah. It is my right. Anybody can agitate. I don't even need people, crowd to follow me. It is when you now feel that you have gotten the necessary, the necessary, need the necessary qualities, then so be it. It is now left for the president who believe in democracy, who believe in government of the people by the people, to apply an initiative. What is the initiative? Release the person, start addressing all those issues that gave rise to this agitation. It has been there. Uwazirike was agitating during Obasanjo. A lot of people were agitating. So now that you have arrested, you come down Uwazirike that time, Nnamdi Kanu came up. Now that you have arrested Nnamdi Kanu, Simon Ekpa is there. I think this data from Ned Nwoko was telling you that even if you arrest Simon Ekpa today, another Simon Ekpa will come out. So the issue there is that address all those issues.
Right. So for you, it's not about ministerial appointment.
No. That one. Okay, that is a complete distraction. That one should not come in. Okay. After coming in now, let Bianca come and address the Igbos in Enugu.
All right.
When the president calm down, the reason Nnamdi Kanu, have a discussion with him. You have been having a discussion with bandits and the so-called repentant Boko Haram. Tell me the offense of Nnamdi Kanu, because he's agitating for self-determination, which is his own constitutional fundamental rights granted to him by the constitution and the law.
Well, the government's anger is not because of the agitation, because they know that everyone has a right to agitate. But they said the way he was going about it, like and then people were being incited. Well, that's even not what I'm
What of the wife of the president incited people during the election? The wife of the president, he incited people that Igbo should go. What of the one Oba of Lagos said that Igbo should go and fall into lagoon? What of those that came out and said that Igbos will not vote? If you are not voting for APC, you will not vote. What happened to them? Has anybody been arrested? That Nnamdi Kanu said something, then you now term that thing he said as is a terrorist, is a crime of terrorism. You charge him for terrorism. His own lawful organization that is registered in almost all the whole countries in America and Europe and Asia, and you now came to Nigeria, you term it a terrorist organization. Now you are now saying that now that IPOB is being recognized in almost all the whole countries in America and Europe, so you are now saying that America, France, Germany, they are recognizing a terrorist organization because you don't want anybody to agitate. You want to suppress anybody. If you talk, kill him, suppress him, jail him. In a country that is predicated on constitutional governance, it cannot work like that.
Okay, let's get back to the ministerial nomination of Bianca Ojukwu, because you said he took away one from Anambra and brought in another. But remember that the president took away the minister based on the KPI results that came out, which he was not even the one, that did the evaluation. It was the result given to him with which he did that, meaning that if actually the minister had performed, above board in the KPI, they wouldn't have had any reason to remove her rather.
Now, still on that ministerial list, we have 48 of them, am I right? And we have 36 states in this country, including FCT 37. So, apart from Southeast, that have only 5, every other region have more than 6, apart from Southeast. Now, check since 1999, we have been having series of presidents. Let's use what is going on now. The president is from where? Vice is from where? Speaker is from where? Senate President is from where? CJN is from where? Court of Appeal President is from where? National Industrial Court President is from where? Chief Judge of Federal High Court is from where? And they are saying that the people of Southeast belongs to this country.
Are you sure Max, are you sure you're not? I mean, it's just like what I said too. I mean, isn't it time we started to be less sentimental about this diversity?
We have to apply it now. We are saying that the only people that are qualified to hold all this position, nobody from South is qualified. On what basis?
Are you saying that
but the chief of naval staff is from the Southeast?
Huh?
The chief of naval staff?
From where? I'm talking about the key position. Number 1 person, number 2 person, number 3 person, number 4 person, number 5 person. The key position. We have 3 arms of government: the executive, the judiciary, and the parliament. You can never see anybody from Southeast there. Now, the point we are talking about is that I'm not even talking about, I'm in court about lopsided appointments.
Okay.
I can avail that my process because I did an intensive research in that process. File it, asking court to view whether this particular appointment, whether this particular government is in line with Federal Character Establishment Act, an act of National Assembly that said that you should carry everybody along. Section 14 of the Constitution also said that you should carry everybody along. And we are not doing all these things. You are telling me that, yes, now that you have removed Kennedy Handele and you are now brought in Jan Kojuku, that the people of Southeast will jubilate. Are you talking to idiots? Look at the people that you are talking about. Check, let me start with the source. In football, the people that have made Nigeria proud are the people of Southeast. In commerce, in aviation industry, name it. In academics, they are from people of Southeast. But when it comes to power, they are not qualified. And we want them to be happy. Listen, let me tell you, like today that is Monday, go to Southeast. And my annoyance is that these things are avoidable for Christ's sake. The one at Niger, the reason and the Kanu, let us start addressing this issue. This early morning, somebody sent me a clip, something they posted, that they said from, I think they said next week, maybe next 2 weeks, that there will be nothing like federal courts in the whole of Southeast. What do I mean by federal courts? Federal courts, National Industrial Court is a federal court. Federal High Court is a federal court. Court of Appeal is a federal court. Now, the people the judges that are there, most of them are not Igbos. Majority of them are not Igbos. How should you risk somebody to go and preside in the Court of Appeal over the judicial division, Oka Judicial Division, Enugu Judicial Division? How can you appoint somebody to go and preside in Federal High Court in the Southeast, National Industrial Court in the Southeast? And you are not even thinking about all this, and the judges are not even thinking about So the point we are talking about is that when there is a problem, look for a solution. Personally, somebody like us, we are not even, I'm defending Nnamdi, one of his lawyers. So when they say so you people are not doing what you're supposed to do, the person that is calling you, don't even know him. He's using a hidden number to call you. You don't even know what they're talking about court. The only thing that you went to court and you were unable to bring Nnamdi out. They're not even safe.
Okay, Maxwell, let me ask you this, because from what you're saying, I've also heard IPOB many times deny, allegations of being involved in some of the killings that happen in the Southeast and some of the, the ills that we see in the society. Even the sit-at-home in question, IPOB has also claimed that he has not asked anybody to sit at home. I don't know, get my point. So the point I'm making is that from what you're saying, it would look as if what you're actually trying to say is that it's because Nnamdi is being held,
yes,
that is why the ills in the society in the Southeast has escalated. Does it have anything to do with him? That is what you're saying.
Do you know why? Nnamdi Kanu, IPOB is his initiative. He established it, he organized it. Now when you now kidnapped him or adopted him, and unlawfully, because the Supreme Court have said that he was unlawfully brought into this country, and you kept him incommunicado, everybody on his own. This one we kill, you said at IPOB. This one we maim, you said at IPOB. Everybody on his own. That's why I asked you the question, who is IPOB? The IPOB is Nnamdi Kanu. So Nnamdi Kanu, if Nnamdi Kanu is out, you will know who is who. Simon Ekpa will talk his own, Emma Powerful will talk his own, this one will talk his own, this one. Who is IPOB? That you are even talking. Simon Ekpa is in Finland. Emma Powerful, I don't know where he's operating from. Another person is operating from somewhere. Issuing threats. Just like the one somebody told me. I don't even know where that one is coming from. So the easiest way to do is the one that you know. Nnamdi Kanu. Then tell Attorney General, as he discontinue the charges against the president of Mieti Ala Kato, discontinue that of Showore, they are all terrorism. Tell them to discontinue that of Nnamdi Kanu and allow Nnamdi Kanu to agitate. It is his right. I told you the other day.
You see, that's where the problem is, really. The guarantee, that there will not be problems, even if Nnamdi Kanu is. Because you're saying allow him to agitate, and he goes about it the way he used to, like, the government have actually feared. That may also create more problems, don't you think?
Let me tell you, there are some things that you asked me the other day whether they are talking about condition given Nnamdi Kanu. I told you one question. I say, if you give Nnamdi Kanu condition that he feel after meeting up that condition, he will still live like a human being, so be it. But when you give him condition and you are removing that made him a human being, he will tell you no. What is that made you a human being? That thing that makes you a human being is your ability to exercise your fundamental rights. And when somebody said, now I'm going to employ you here, I will be paying you $500,000 every month, but you will not talk, you will not move out, you say, do away with your job. When somebody said, I'm going to release you, but I'll cut one of your hands, say no. the agitation for self-determination is a fundamental right. And if you people fail to understand it, I can agitate that I need the Republic of Maxwell. Yeah. It is my right. Anybody can agitate. I don't even need crowd to follow me. It is when you now feel that you have gotten the necessary need the necessary qualities, then so be it. It is now left for the president who believe in democracy, who believe in government of the people by the people, to apply an initiative. What is the initiative? Release the person, start addressing all those issues that gave rise to this agitation. It has been there. Uwazuke was agitating during Obasanjo. A lot of people were agitating. So now that you have arrested, you come down Uwazuke that time. Nnamdi Kanu came up. Now that you have arrested Nnamdi Kanu, Simon Ekpa is there. I think this data from Ned Nwoko was telling you that even if you arrest Simon Ekpa today, another Simon Ekpa will come out. So the issue there is that address all those issues.
Right. So for you, it's not about ministerial appointment.
No. That one. Okay, that is a complete distraction. It shouldn't even come in. Okay. After coming in now, let Bianca come and address the Igbos in Enugu.
All right.
So my people, you guys have been able to hear what the lawyer of Nnamdi Kanu said, right? Now, if you're giving someone condition, so my people, you guys have, before you guys give someone condition, you have to make sure. You have to make sure that you're not trying to violate the person's right. But you giving someone condition, and in the process of everything you're doing, you're violating the person's right. I don't think the person will accept that condition, right? No, the person would not. And also, many people have been saying that thank God that Hope Uzodinma and Benjamin Kalu has actually withdrawn the case. Sorry, they have withdrawn the bill, because there was a time I told you guys that they passed a bill of if you're a North or a Westerner who have stayed in Igbo land for 10 years, that you're going to automatically become an indigene. And many Igbo traditional rulers came about this and they were discussing about it, and they said no, that is not going to work. And before you know it, they did a meeting and Benjamin Kalu had to withdraw the bill. So guys, that's all we have for today. Let me know your thoughts below on this particular issue. And also, if you're new to this channel, please don't forget to click the subscribe button, like and share, turn on the notification button to get all the latest news in this channel. And also, there's a normal thing we normally do here. Please comment on the comment section. Free Nnamdi Kanu, and also justice delayed is not justice denied, because you guys know this is a platform where we agitate for the release of Nnamdi Kanu, and also to tell the federal government that Nnamdi Kanu is innocent. And you guys know that he will be coming to court on the 10th October 2025, and I'm going to be giving you guys latest update of everything concerning Nnamdi Kanu and his court case. So guys, thanks for watching, and see you guys in my next live section.